So I think based on what we just heard there, the opposition will formally knock back this amendment.
You could bet your house on it.
This week, yeah. What makes this different, though, I think, in terms of opposition strategies in the past? There aren't too many commentators out there this time around that support the opposition on this.
No, you've got sort of left-of-centre commentators who have concerns about the humanitarian elements of both sides of politics. But then you've got all those senior figures from the Australian, Greg Sheridan and Dennis Shanahan, saying Tony Abbott really should back this because it backs in his policy of offshore processing, and him saying, well, I'm just going to defy that expectation, and essentially, you know, making all the arguments but saying in so many words that he's going to vote no.
And he's also defying a lot of what he's being told, though, as well. I mean, he's been told by the Immigration Department that Nauru's not going to work a second time round because a majority of the people found to be refugees ended up in Australia or New Zealand. He's been told by a lot of lawyers that Nauru would need changes as well. He just says, well, no, that's not true. Certainly, I don't think there's any way around the idea that you'd need to change the law in order to send children back to Nauru. And if you didn't, you're going to be in that same position where boatloads of children come to Australia to sort of be the anchors for families coming out, and there's no idea what he would do about that. And he's kind of coming at the Labor Party from the left, being the sort of defender of human rights, while at the same time proposing towback of boats, as you were pointing out, to Indonesia, and also TPVs, which had huge effects on the people who were under them. So, I mean, it's such a confused policy that contradicts most of the advice that he's getting.
It might, and yet they could win the argument in the end on this basis, that it's not so much about just offshore, giving the government the flexibility it needs on offshore processing. It becomes an argument over Malaysia versus Nauru. That's the way they frame it.
They have, and to a degree, Julia Gillard assisted that process of making it Malaysia versus Nauru before she started emphasising, she's always said, look, this is about offshore versus onshore, but then she got sidetracked and then started, like last Thursday in Question Time, saying, you know, it's not about Malaysia, this is about something else. And it will be interesting to see the opposition vote with the Greens, because it might be, on this issue, the last time they get the chance, because were a coalition government to be elected, it will find that it will have to put beyond legal doubt the legitimacy of Nauru. It will have to pass legislation confirming offshore processing, and it will not get it through because it won't get the Greens or the Labor Party support. Except
in that circumstance, there is actually a reasonable chance, you would think, that if a coalition government had been elected with a strong majority, that they might. Senate. No, but they might. Well, there might be a change of the Senate within that sort of 6 to 9 month period. But with a new Senate, they could potentially push the Labor Party into backing them on this issue.
A grateful Labor Party would say certainly.
No. But it would be a pragmatic thing because of the fear
Prime
of
Minister Chris Bowen would say
the domestic politics. Well, Chris Bowen would have an ocean of
opposition leader
would have an ocean of comments on the record, basically supporting offshore processing. That's what this debate has done to the Labor side of politics.
Right, so we'd be expecting consistency then, but not now.
The oceans of cant and hypocrisy in this debate.